I hate playing games twice. I mean, that's what the title said. But I just can't stand it. I can't stand going through a game once and then playing it again. There's no urge in my body that irks me to play the same game twice. It honestly feels like it would be more of a detriment to me, as if I'm ruining the game by going back and playing it. I understand that many people love playing games again and again. It surely didn't take one attempt to get the world record on SpongeBob Battle for Bikini Bottom or Mr. Krabs overdoses on ketamine. Okay, maybe those aren't the best examples, but you get the point. Even after years have passed, it still feels like playing the game again is more of a chore than anything. But why is that? Nine times out of 10, I will only play a game once. That's all I need. That's at least all I feel that I need. I treat each game as an experience. Like life, games are a world that can be hopped into. Lessons can be learned, things can be found, and self-discovery is imminent. Why go back and ruin it? Yep, just made that quote up on the spot. But think about it. I mean, there's some truth to it. Games are really worlds no different from our own. Different characters pad out cities and locations, threats are constantly lurking over, and eventually the truth is found. But what is different between a game and real life? I can replay a game, but I can't replay real life. After getting an ending, I can go right back and get another one. Hell, I may not even have to play the whole game again. I could just reload a save, and instead of killing that John Doe, I could save him. Some games take it a step further, giving you new replayability options for going back and replaying. But even with all that, I still find it hard to boot up the same game again. Resident Evil is one of my favorite franchises. I'm sure y'all know by now if you watch my other videos. I mean, I pretty much make it an obligation to mention at least once every time, and here we are. Resident Evil is one of those franchises that, with almost every game, there is some type of replayability. I mean, of course, there's typically side content, maybe a DLC, maybe something like Mercenaries mode, but I'm not talking about that. I mean, main story replayability. I recently did a review on Resident Evil 4, which is very funny and you should go watch it. But what I failed to talk about was the replayability, what happens after you beat the game and go back. Most of the RE games have a different scenario, and RE4 kind of does something like that with the Ada extras. Separate Ways literally has you playing the game from Ada's perspective. As far as the base game goes though, it's a little different. After beating RE4 once, you can save your weapons and go through the game again, but with the added firepower. To add, you could also change the difficulty, and on certain versions even get special costumes. There's even a full knight armor set for Ashley that can be obtained, which makes her completely invincible. A lot of people love that, and that alone is enough to get people to play through the main story again. I mean, who doesn't want to relive getting ambushed by a ton of zombies in a small shack? Me, I don't. Even with all of that, I still have no interest in playing the game again, and RE4 is my second favorite in the franchise. My favorite is Resident Evil HD Remake. I love this game. Honestly, probably in my top 5. The eerie halls of the Arcalay mansion is like no other. The claustrophobic feeling you get is hard to recreate. The soundtrack is amazing, giving us songs like the kitchen theme from the director's cut. Okay, maybe not that one, but regardless, I love this game, and as you might have guessed, I've only played it once. I played as Jill, got the ending, and went on with my life. I barely even think about going back and actually playing it again. The main replayability here is whatever scenario you didn't pick. In my case, it would be the Chris scenario. Of course, there are also post-game unlocks like new clothes and new weapons, but I digress. With both of the scenarios in the RE remake, they are very similar. I mean, there's a couple differences here and there, like how you get the shotgun or the interactions with Rebecca as opposed to Barry, but that's just not enough for me to go back. To actually give a reason to all this, I think it's because I treat games more as memories, and I'm sure that kind of sounds dumb because that's what everything becomes, a memory. But the thing about a lot of memories and experiences is that you can't go back and change them or relive them. Some of my fondest memories are me and my dad going to conventions whenever the season calls. I remember the people I see, the things people are selling, and that's pretty much it because we would leave after that. But the point is, I remember the experience. A not so fond memory, and I have multiple of these, is anytime I embarrass myself in front of a girl I like, or make a fool of myself asking her out, which typically doesn't go well. those memories are typically more potent, unfortunately. My whole point here, though, is that I would love to re-experience those times with my dad looking for stuff to buy at conventions, or change those times where I sorely embarrassed myself, but I can't. Those experiences are locked in forever, not to be changed, but to forever be learned from. And that's how I treat games. One-time experiences that aren't meant to be changed or played over. The memory is locked in my head, and that's enough for me. Now, as I just spent multiple minutes explaining why I don't replay video games, let's take a look at a game that I have replayed. Elden Ring. I love Elden Ring. This game goes so hard. Fighting and overcoming bosses gives you a feeling of accomplishment like no other. The exploration feels endless with the insane amount of catacombs and different places to discover. You may be in the fiery and hellish lands of Caelid in one moment, but in the next be in the euphoric, dreamlike, almost surreal eternal cities of Nokron and Noxtella located under the map. You could be fighting an ancient dragon lord or a lady in Valkyrie armor that puts everything the dragon had to shame. You get my point. Elden Ring is amazing. More than that, it's a masterpiece. A masterpiece that I've played 4 times. Yep, I've just contradicted the entire point of this video. Oh, but Mr. Juice, I thought you hated playing video games twice, let alone 4 times. And you'd be correct. I was surprised too, honestly. I thought that after my first playthrough, which was around 100 hours long, I'd be done. I thought it'd be another game I'd put into the memory vault to be, well, remembered. But no, for whatever reason, I had the urge to play it again and again, and I'm not even 100% sure why, but I can take a guess. My guess would be the sheer amount of content in Elden Ring. Wow, big surprise, I know. But as we all know, the lands between is a vast area with countless places to be discovered. Along with those areas come side quests, and along with those side quests comes new endings. And I think that may have been a big thing keeping me coming back. How much could I change the game in a different run? What happens if I try and kill Ronnie instead of going to Nokron? What happens if I follow my queen, Fia, the deathbed companion, into the deep root depths? How much stuff can I change before the experience I previously had becomes a new one? See, I still hate playing games multiple times, but if a game can give an entirely new experience from the last, then I'll make an exception. Elden Ring is one of those games. I own Elden Ring both on my PC and my Xbox. I've played through the game 4 times, as I said, 3 on PC and once on Xbox. The 3 times on PC that I played were all amazing. As I said before, enough stuff changed that I could call each playthrough a different experience, so I didn't feel like I was overwriting the first. In one playthrough, I did Ronnie's quest and discovered the mysteries deep under the lands. I called upon her at the end of the game to begin the Age of Stars. On another playthrough, I went the Gold Mask route to induct the Age of Order. I'll remember both of those playthroughs fondly. However, each of those times I simply played on New Game Plus, and I was fine with that. Although I also mentioned I had one playthrough on Xbox. That playthrough was completely from scratch. I was hesitant to even play it because I didn't think I could get anything out of it. I was wrong though. My playthrough on Xbox was actually really enjoyable. I tried a different playstyle, did things in a different order, but I think the biggest thing was that I played it mostly with my friend. I say all that to say it just deepens my point of providing a new experience. I can remember each of those playthroughs like it's a different day of my life. I don't feel like one playthrough infringes on the other. Story is another thing. I would hate to play a linear story game multiple times. I couldn't see myself getting lost in a world like Termina from Majora's Mask more than once. After the first time, it just loses its charm. And I know there's more stuff to be found, but for the most part, I feel like I've already had the experience, and I shouldn't go back. I've already seen the characters and know their fates. I destroyed the moon, and that should be it. I came what I set out to do and then left, and I'm fine with that. And that's really the same thing with all the Zelda games, including Breath of the Wild. And I know it's ironic that I mentioned Majora's Mask, seeing as you literally replay the same day, but it's incorporated in the story, so please just go with it. Another thing that I would like to mention is that I feel like playing a game once is way more memorable than playing it multiple times. Now, that doesn't really make the most sense at first glance. I mean, clearly if I play something twice, I'll remember it twice as good, but I guess I mean it more in the sense of fondness. Sure, if I play a game 5 times, I'll remember it better, but I'll also remember the charm getting lost each time I play it. It simply won't be as fun. Once again, with the exception of Elden Ring, because that game offers so much that I feel like it would take 50 times for it to really lose its charm. Anyway, my point here is that I would rather play a game once, remember it how I remember it the first time, and leave it at that. To put an end or a moral to this video, I just get more out of playing games once than playing it over and over. I feel that those memories shouldn't be changed, similar to how real life memories are. I feel like getting immersed in a world only has its charm once, and it loses that over every playthrough. Games like Elden Ring are a very few exception because the game actually provides enough to give multiple experiences. I'm sure a lot of y'all would heavily disagree, saying stuff like, oh, so would you only go to Walmart once since you've already experienced it? And of course, the answer is yes. I'm kidding, obviously I would go to Walmart more than once, but if you have a better argument, I would love to hear it. Overall, regardless of how you play your games, whether it's 100 times or just one, I think that's cool and no one should feel ashamed of that. And I may sound real dumb in this video, but I hope I don't, and I hope some of y'all can relate. And I hope, like many of the games we play, this video too is something you can remember.